Anyway, this is, I guess we'll have a roll call. Yeah, please.
Paul Filicetti.
Here.
Steve Adler.
Here.
Kathy Bickenhauser. Julia McCarthy McLaverty.
Here.
Jim McDonald.
Here.
Solomon Martin. Absent. We did receive a affirmation of their presence this evening, so maybe they'll come late. Joshua Pollarine. Absent. Jolene Brink.
Here.
Bruce Haroldson. We have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes from the October 4th meeting. Any corrections or additions?
Those minutes are not provided. They're in draft form only, and so they'll be presented and available at the next meeting.
Oh, which is what it says on the deal here. So sorry about that. Okay, very good. Any public comment from anyone who is not on the agenda tonight? Anybody? No? All right. Very good. Go to new business. Special presentation on the Studebaker building.
So I'll just open this up that the Studebaker building is an individually listed building on the National Register. And the ZAC, the Zootown Arts Community, just bought it, and they want to do renovations. And this is the preliminary, just informational presentation on that. So an HPP hasn't been submitted yet.
All right, thank you. All right. Please state your full name and who you're representing.
My name is Elise Casper, and I'm from Paradigm Architects, and I'm working with the ZAC on their recently acquired building, the Studebaker. The Studebaker was built in 1918 to replace a horse stable that was there. It housed a showroom for Studebaker cars, so we're really lucky that the whole entire structure is basically up to code and doesn't really need to be fixed. And I'll just kind of run through. We just have a few things that we're looking at doing for the exterior of the building. And the first pages are just kind of the debrief on the plaque on the building and the little history about the building. So we'll start with just kind of a run through of exactly what we're looking at doing at the building. We're going to repoint a lot of brick. We have some brick that is deteriorating on the building, and I'll kind of run through each one of these points a little bit later, but this will just be a broad overview. Refinishing the exterior doors, possibly looking at adding some garage doors to the front of the building, opening it up to the exterior a little bit. We are looking at refinishing the middle exterior doors and removing the exterior awnings. So that's what we're looking at for the front facade at the moment. So right now we have some water drainage issues that are causing deterioration of the brick on the exterior of the building. And so we're just gonna go through, we're gonna fix the water drainage issues and repoint all the brick. And this will not affect the exterior mural at all. So I know that was a concern before, but a lot of, on the east elevation of this building, there's a lot of water damage and repointing of the brick that needs to be fixed. So that's one of the items that we're going to be looking at. Just restoring the exterior door. We're keeping this door on the front side of the building, but just painting, restaining, just fixing it up a little bit. So the main thing that we're doing to the front is adding garage doors. And so this is going to replace this kind of like 1970s looking storefront system that's currently in place. And if we turn to the next one, it kind of brings it back to the original look of the building. So the original look of the building was a lot more open and did originally have garage doors. So we're hoping that this kind of brings it back, opens it up to the community, gives you a little bit more flow between the interior and the exterior of the building. And then removing the awnings. And then when we remove the awnings, we'll just make sure that any residue that's left, any holes that are put into the building, we'll fix them as needed. The north facade is the one that's going to use the most amount of work. There's a large amount of deteriorating brick. The brick will be repainted and repointed, upgrading the downspout to fix the water drainage issues on the rear end of the building. And then upgrading, we're adding one more exterior door to the back of the building and upgrading one existing exterior door. So I'll kind of run through those right now. So as you can see here, the downspouts for this building are just not adequate for the square foot size of the roof. And so we'll be like upgrading the downspout, taking out the heat tub of the downspout and just making sure that everything's draining correctly because it's causing a lot of water issues and deteriorating the brick. And then, yeah, as I said before, repointing the brick, fixing the downspout. So just like general maintenance issues, that this building is really in pretty decent shape for what we're looking at doing, just mostly cosmetic, just fixing like general maintenance on the building. Painting the exterior windows, they have these really cool old metal exterior windows, but they look like they've been painted once before. They're starting to rust, and so just kind of bringing it back to its glory days and just like touching it up, but not changing out any windows except for one. So this is an existing back entry. So we're thinking about adding some metal sheathing to the exterior, painting the door, and then just adding some landscape that would not be inferior to, or extruding out into the drive because there's a bunch of gas meters, so it'll stay behind the lines of the gas meters, but just trying to liven up the exterior of the building. Also adding some more lighting to the exterior building because we have problems with homeless population sleeping back there. So motion sensor, lighting and whatnot, just pretty simple, normal upgrades. And then the biggest one is that we are looking at adding another exterior opening to the back of the building. This is going to provide for exiting for a event center that's happening in the back. And you can see in the rendering the existing door will match the size of the window. So the size of the window is 96 inches, so it'll fit a double door. And so we'll keep that, just cut out the bottom. And then the artwork that you see will not be permanently adhered to the building. We just want to liven it up, make it look like it's an art center, give it some life. And so those are the main points that we have for you today. Not changing too much, but we really just want to like get any ideas that you may have, any concerns, and yeah, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. We're looking at doing it, getting started on the interior in January. So here pretty quick.
I think the only thing that strikes me is kind of the irony of looking at the old photo and seeing where the garage door was and knowing that that's where the ramp was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the storefront will be, and then the storefront will then become 2 garage doors, so it's just kind of flipping
Flip
garage
it.
doors. I don't know that that's totally incompatible, considering the use and the fact that the previous garage door was there, but just the irony that we're switching roles on the facade here,
Yeah.
so.
Anybody else?
Can you talk about how that rear art space, is that going to be just an exterior canvas, or how does that work?
So the way we're thinking about right now is just have, basically an exterior canvas that will be like put up against the wall instead of, just to bring a little life and color to the back facade. But
Are there any remaining interior elements that still speak to its origins?
So we actually at our meeting on Wednesday, we were talking about possibly incorporating that window that we're taking out from the back and putting it into the interior. It's just taking exactly where we want to do that, so it doesn't take up our gallery space. But yes, there has been mentions of keeping. And it's we're keeping all the old tin ceilings. They have these beautiful tin ceilings, and so we'll be restoring those and like restoring the interior of the building to more of what it was in the original days.
You're not putting back the ramp, though.
What's that?
You're not putting back the big ramp, though.
No, I don't think you would like that very much.
Yeah, I used to park the cars on the second floor, so they had a ramp for all the cars on the second floor.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
It was a huge project to take that out and restructure the building, because it was took up half the building.
Yes. At the risk of being rude and inviting ourselves over, would there be a chance of kind of taking a pre-work tour and a post-work tour, just to see what you started with on the inside and what you're finishing up with?
Yeah.
And that's, not an application or a binding thing. It's just, I'm interested, so.
Yeah. You want to look at it now? Or
Sure,
like-
if you've got,
Okay.
well,
Yeah, or just like touring the building, is that what you're talking about?
yeah, but maybe just take a tour at some point
Yeah.
when it works for you guys
Yeah,
on your
definitely.
schedule and when it fits in. It'd be nice to see the thing in person and kind of see it before and after.
For sure, yeah. I can give you my card and you can set that up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
My only other comment is, this is exciting, and also could you just speak to a little bit about how the new space is helping the ZAC expand their mission, or like what, by having, the garage door and the back door alley, how does that change what this can do for the community?
Yeah, so we're really excited about that because the ZAC is busting at the seams, as Kia can tell you. And so right now, they have a gallery space that doubles as a classroom, that doubles as basically anything that they want to do at the ZAC. So in this building, they're going to have 2 new classrooms, a whole black box event center. They're going to have a youth gallery, other gallery, paint your own pottery. So they're going to be doubling their square footage. They're going to be adding practice rooms for their expanding girls rock camp and all their rock camps. And so we're really excited. And they also rent out studios for local artists. So we have a few of those in there. Unfortunately, not as many as we wanted, but yeah, we're really excited about this project, and it's going to be pretty great, I think.
Could you come up to the microphone? We have to record. And state your name.
On the record, I'm Kia Lizak, the director of the ZAC. And I just wanted to add that I think it's really exciting also because we will be a bustling community center, and this building has been pretty much closed off to the public for the last several years, and so many more people will get a chance to actually see this building and hear about the history of the building, and I think appreciate it than they have maybe ever before, because since its beginnings, because it'll be just such a space with a constant flow of traffic.
Thank you. Anything else?
Do we feel comfortable moving on with an HPP for this? Okay. I also think it'd be neat just to add to the record that this could be a really cool potential partnership. We have historic preservation awards every year, and we hold events, and that could be a neat space if we ever wanted to partner for that. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Okay. Okay, no other new business, old business, preservation plan. And this was given out there. I think we have it on here, don't we? No. Because I forgot to bring my copy again from last time.
Yeah, so we were just continuing from last time about the discussion for our HP bylaws, and I included last time the draft that I updated, and I was just hoping to hear your guys' thoughts and to start a discussion about that. If anyone has anything to add, or if they want to talk about that, yeah.
Is the draft in here?
So it was from last time, so I was hoping you guys would look up,
Yeah.
because it was the homework of working on this throughout, but from last week, yeah. So you can look it up on your last month, sorry, on your tablets now.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I did my homework prior to last month, and I just to reiterate, my one main concern is that any three absences could qualify you for being removed from the board.
Yeah, and those are unexcused.
And I was thinking if we make it 3 unexcused, because I know a lot of us travel for the work that gives us the experience to be on the board, and just being gone with good cause, it would be a shame to lose people because they're doing what they love and they're doing what puts them on the board. That could possibly remove them from the board.
Sure.
Seem backwards. So if we made it 3 unexcused absences or something, rather than any 3 absences, that'd be a suggestion.
Yeah, and that's we've honored it with unexcused.
Okay.
And the majority of members have given us notice that they're going to be gone for a reason, for 3 times in a row or not. Yeah. Another thing that we talked about was in August, we didn't hold a meeting. And that was the first time that we've done that in a very long time. I don't know if we've actually ever done that in the past. I don't think we've done it.
I don't think so.
And so that's something to consider, is whether, if there's going to be so many people absent and we don't have any motions on the agenda, whether we want to hold a meeting or not. So thoughts on that?
I got thinking about that after I mentioned that last time, and what's been good about having a meeting every month is it's more of the education and what we can do as far as other things, rather than maybe action items that are on the agenda. And I think that's why we've always had meetings every month. And like everybody said, we're the only committee that does that. Our commission, everybody else, they just do it whether it's action items or not. Yeah. And I don't know, I still feel it's kind of important to have a meeting every month just to discuss issues, and especially, how we proceed with some of our other activities besides just, approving projects or whatever. So I don't know. I guess I backed off. I thought it might be a good idea, but then I backed off from the last meeting.
Well, it's usually up to the chair to determine whether to have a meeting, call a special meeting, move meetings. I'm fine with leaving it that way because that gives the flexibility for someone to, poll the folks who will be there and find out if it's really worth having a meeting, or, look at the possibility of changing the meeting date. So I think if we leave it with the chair and one person in charge that has the ability to call that, just kind of makes sense.
It's a good idea. The agenda usually comes out after we send out the notice to whether we're going to be here or not, and that's, I guess, kind of is there any way to, we seem to have, like this item came up pretty quick, I guess, tonight on this project, right?
Yeah, well, it came out with the normal agenda, yeah.
So, but I don't know if there was,
Yeah, so it'd be within that normal
I guess
7-day
know what the
window.
agenda is, and then we can decide, or the chair could decide at that point, do we have to
Right.
have a meeting or whatever, and then we can ask for who can attend. And, but that's going to be hard to do because you kind of want to know who's going to be here before the end of the month.
Yeah. So it'd be after we hear back from you guys and after we know what's on the agenda, and then that would make the decision.
It may mean we might just be the week before determining who's coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I guess, it's a problem, but it's something we could do.
I think it's just important for consistency and to be available. I think it's almost easier just to know that you're having a meeting and then, I guess, make that decision like you're saying. But I don't know. I just think knowing that you're going to have a meeting every month, you can plan for that. And I find that when I have things that are every other, it's amazing how fast 2 months can go without anything happening. So.
Yeah. Good point. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd go with the consistency, even though I'm gone all summer. At least I know that it is going to be every month, and I can look up all the notes and look it up and see what happened. And if the public has something that they want to say, they know it is every month.
And this is only suggesting if we don't have education items, if we don't have action items, and if we have not a quorum. So those would be the 3 things which we've, for the first time ever, canceled the meeting. And so it's making that more of an opportunity if we don't have those 3 things in order, if we feel comfortable with that.
I have a comment not related to that. Just in terms of when the city county did the board training, I thought one of the recommendations that the fellow gave the board training was to move public comments before approval of the meeting minutes. And now would be our opportunity to make that modification. Thank you. The other one I wanted to suggest is that we include just by the nature of it, all staff reports become part of the meeting minutes and documented as an attachment to the meeting minutes.
So by that previous Wednesday.
They would be a part of the approval of the meeting minutes the following month.
Oh, the following. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Without, they would just roll into the meeting minutes as a part of what happened at the meeting.
Okay.
I think
Gotcha.
that's a good way to chase and document the information that we reviewed. Even then, you could even go on to say, all the paperwork that we received should be included in those meeting minutes, so that it does start to create that historical record. If there were ever an issue, they're always in part of that's part of the approval of the meeting minutes. It's that we approved the fact that all that stuff was in there, part of the meeting.
What do you think about that?
The documents, I'm unsure if we're asking that the staff report would no longer be an attachment you would receive before the meeting, or would you still want it in both places?
I think it could be an attachment, but just by the nature of it being presented at the meeting, it becomes part of the record in the meeting minutes.
Yeah, I think what I would recommend is that we would bring that to the clerk's attention for their comment. I mean, the nature of this program is that all of the documents are already saved and they're searchable by keyword and then by date of the meeting also. So we would be duplicating all of the information if we had it all uploaded as attachments and then again connected to the minutes, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure if the city clerk's office would agree with that duplication.
Okay, and I was just thinking, I wasn't thinking of the duplication process. I was just thinking of more of the record. So maybe just by the nature that they were a part of the meeting, they are a part of the official record?
They are, and so what you see in front of you with the agenda, it has all of the links. Those links are part of a historical record. So if there were items and we're requested to maintain a history, like in the example of large projects that are happening over the course of several months, we can pull history from a specific item forward from month to month so that when you're looking electronically, all of that history of the item is provided. So
Okay.
the SIRE process allows us to do that.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but thank you for that clarification.
So it sounds like everything that's uploaded into SIRE is saved. So we can always go back to those minutes. So, which is probably my bad and not knowing yet, but why I didn't include the bylaws from last time is because that's already there from last month. So everything is there every month, and you can go and click the history.
We have to go to back month, to last month to
So you go
see those.
to last month.
And
Yeah.
That's why I tried to pull it up.
And that's a process, like that's something that the HPO staff and the administrative staff can work on better communication. If we know that an item is coming forward from the past, we can bring that history forward into the next meeting. So that is something that we can do a better job of.
Yeah.
Because that link right now has no files.
So if you go to last month, it's all there. Yeah.
So we have to go back.
And so for next time, we'll carry that link forward since it was a discussion item tonight.
I think that's good. Okay.
So I was looking at the bylaws as they currently are on the website, so I'm sorry if you've already made this to your updates.
Nope. So we haven't done any updates yet. So this is all how it is, and we're just discussing that.
So the two things that stood out to me, I was looking at the bylaws for Livingston, and their Article 1 purpose sets out the purpose of the Preservation Commission. It sets it up with an ethos that talks about like what we want to achieve. I can even read, they say like, through the purpose of our HPC, the preservation of historically significant buildings and the creation of a central business district that reflects the cultural and architectural past of the city to promote the tourism industry, inform property owners, etc. And it made me, as a writer, reflect on our current bylaws, and it's very, very fact-based. Can we incorporate a statement that is more reflective of the general sense of what the committee wants to do on top of our objectives?
We absolutely can. And if we want to do that, we definitely can. So if that's something we want to do, we can include that into our bylaws.
So what would that process look like?
It would just look like this discussion and you guys discussing, recommending to staff what you see should be in the bylaws, which is part of this discussion right now. What you see shouldn't be, what you see should be, and that's a really, really good point. If we all agree that we want a mission statement in the bylaws, we can include that. Many bylaws don't have that, so that's actually not normal for most bylaws, because bylaws are just operating orders of a board. Mission statements are usually more in the code, but if we want to include that, we can, because we are the board and we have the authority to write our bylaws. We do have to carry it through council, but we as a board, you guys as a board, have the authority to put what you want in your bylaws, so long as it, doesn't stray from what we have existing. But we can add certain things like that, so.
Jolene, was that more of a mission statement that you were kind of seeking, or right now it just starts with authority and then kind of
Yeah. It's the difference between bylaws setting out what is going to be established and planned versus more of a purpose statement that says, if you don't know who we are, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it for the community, and this is why it's important to have this voice. And it's what we're already doing, but I think it would be helpful for me even to know what that kind of purpose is. I mean, I know what it is, but articulating it. Well, and the bylaws are meant for you guys. They're guiding laws for you as a board, so that if we ever get into trouble with the law or with the city or with the government, we have our bylaws stated.
I think some of what you're looking for might be in the ordinance that establishes the board, because that's got a purpose statement and some other wherefores and whyfores in there. So maybe we can take a look at that and see if that.
And if I can add, that is on our website currently under the boards and commissions. The Historic Preservation has a purpose that's identified, and it states the Historic Preservation Commission is charged with establishing a local historic preservation program, integrating historic preservation into local, state, and federal planning and decision-making processes. And then it goes on for another small paragraph, designed to promote the preservation of historic and prehistoric sites, structures, objects, buildings, and historic districts. The commission is comprised of volunteers from Missoula's neighborhoods, businesses, and preservation professionals, and was established by the council in 1989. So that is on the website also. So we might need to be, if it was a little bit different than that purpose that's identified kind of by law and process, we could call it something different, more of a vision statement potentially.
Yeah.
And then included, in last month's history is our Historic Preservation Commission authority and the authority of the HPO, which is pretty good research for writing these bylaws of what the authority of the HPC has, which what I found interesting is about a page and a half longer than the HPO, which is something good to keep in mind as far as this board. And I just urge everyone to read that.
There was, and I'm sorry I couldn't pull it up this morning when I was trying to get, but there was also another area of the city commission. I mean, this means city and within the city boundaries, but there's also some discussion on whether we should at least be able to comment. I know we can't legally comment, but comment on, the building just across the line or whatever in the county. And we have done that in the past when the planning was, of course, combined, which, but of course now we're separate. And I know the county wants to do something. Dave Stromer still, I talked to him several weeks ago, but he still wants to get something going in within the county, and whether it be this group that would then be part of it or it'd be a whole different commission, I don't know. But I guess my concern is that, you've got a project that's just affecting a project within the city, just outside the city limits or whatever it might be. Highway projects and stuff like that, that's very clear. Anything that affects a historic building within, I think it's 300 feet or whatever, has to be considered as part of the mitigation. But I wonder if there's any way that we could have a little bit of that, as part of this commission. I don't know. That was one area that I guess had concern about, just because we are surrounded by county.
I think
city limits, and there are historic buildings out there.
I think it would be nice to have some official recognition that the board can kind of offer its volunteer services beyond the city limits when, asked by the county or when deemed appropriate or something like that. Because part of our mission is to just be there for people and to help them out. And even if that includes being outside the city limits, I'd certainly like to extend the goodwill out that far, for sure. Whether that is, a legal issue or not, I'm not sure. But if we can, I'd like to, and if we can confirm that we're okay in doing that no, we don't have quasi-judicial power outside the city limits, but at least we can pitch in and help when asked.
We can include that because, like I said, this is going to go through City Council. So ultimately, it's their decision as to whether we can include that. But for now, we can include that. Mm-hmm.
Cool. That'd be great.
And before we even move forward, I was thinking I would compile our thoughts, put it into a document. We talk about it again next month or the month after before we're ready to actually move it through City Council. So.
Because you have time that process after the first year. So we have some more time to discuss this.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anything else tonight on this?
So, Amy, can we just, as we go through this, can we just forward comments to you directly?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be good to, whatever comments are before the meeting, at least we bring them up at the meeting too, and we're discussing. So if it's,
And next time I'll be sure to connect the history to this month and last month too. So I apologize for that.
any other discussion on the preservation plan? I just want to say I think it's a good opportunity to really define this more and make sure we have, our act together or whatever as far as issues and things that are coming up. The last meeting with the downtown master plan, it became very obvious that there's going to be a lot of development in Missoula, and how that's going to affect historic preservation, I think is something we're going to have to really have our thoughts together, but also more in a proactive way than putting out fires. And it'd be nice to. I was kind of disappointed the developers that were in the meeting prior to our historic preservation meeting. They were asked if they wanted to stay for this, and they were no, we don't want anything to do with it because of the MRC. So they didn't stay for the meeting, and I think we've got to make that. We've got to do something different there that they become part of our discussion.
How do we do that?
I'm sorry.
What would be an opportunity to have that conversation? I don't want to have it or be the one to have it, but where is the space where that could happen?
One of the things we talked about before was trying to chase down buildings that change hands, and introducing HPC to that new ownership group, whoever they are, or owner, and just kind of, at least keep the relationship open so they know that we exist, knowing that a lot of individuals who are maybe purchasing buildings in Missoula aren't fully aware of all the historic districts and the overlays and whatnot, and that are that they may have, that the real estate agent may not have told them about. So that that would be one opportunity.
Maybe at some point then we reach out to realtors. I mean, if we do have a disconnect with the city at the, the development board, maybe we reach out to other people. And I don't know if when they go to the city for anything, do they get a packet of information, or good heavens, Sophie.
The city's a big place, and I'm usually the last person to hear about it. And I will go on record for that. But this could be a really good time for a subcommittee, for those of you who brought this up, of getting together and acting on this, and we could all brainstorm ways to provide information to new buyers, because it's a stepped process, and it's a complicated process, and there's not many involved, but I think there is a way to get involved. So.
Anything else in your discussion tonight? All right. Move on, education, public awareness, really nothing. I'm getting requests for tours, more tours. I've been teaching a class at the university for the last month and a half, and at least the people in that class have 41 people. And they want more actual tours. And they've been on the Unseen Missoula tours, but they want more of the tours we used to do. And whole group wants the A.J. Gibson tour again, since we only have one person during Bike Walk, or Rock and Roll Week, excuse me. And then some other major ones. So I think we probably should start planning soon for the May tours and get those set up. And I know you've got a lot of ideas, Emmy, and we don't want to keep repeating those. The other one that came up, they want to do a trolley tour again, so that has become a big one. But I don't know, there's probably other ways to do it. There's probably other ways to, and that's what we should start talking about, at least by January here, so we have something pretty well put together by May. And then, of course, awards are going to come up in January again, too, and those things. And I think we have done pretty well on all of that in the last couple of years here, but I think we can also do better. So that's coming up quickly here.
So that's another thing. Do we want to have awards every year, or do we want to have them every other year? Because that's something that was brought up over the past couple years. Last year, we didn't have much participation with the HBC. So if we're going to do it again, I need more participation.
I had not considered that before, but certainly their MPA and the state both follow that kind of a pattern. I believe MPA does, but I'm not opposed to that idea.
Well, and as far as participation, I know I felt that I couldn't vote on a couple of things because I was involved with them. So I think one thing that we do need to nail down is where our involvement as board members, where it's an issue and where it's actually a compliment. And that way, if something does come up that we either want to nominate or want to vote on, we just need to delineate that just a little bit better and make sure that we're not crossing any lines. And that would certainly help me.
That'd probably be a good thing to include in the bylaws, too. That's a really good thought, yeah.
I think that happened with three of us here on 3 buildings, 3 projects last year, so it was a problem. But that's a good point. I mean, we're a small state. Even the state boards, run into this conflicts all the time. But they just, I think the State Preservation Board, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but they have, if you declare your conflict ahead of time, then you can still move ahead and vote, can't you?
Sorry, it's been too long for me to remember that.
But, I think as long as the rest of the group feels comfortable and you vote, I mean, if somebody says no, then that's a different.
Yeah.
But if the rest of the board feels fine with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you've declared that conflict, then, and I don't know if the city laws or anything, is there, I know there's.
I mean, usually if there's a conflict of interest with other boards or commissions, They're identified before the item is ever discussed, and they can participate in the discussion, but they cannot vote. That doesn't mean that that might be the same role when we're talking about an award program. It could be different. It's something that we can bring up to the city clerk's office and do some research for you.
Like an action item here, that makes sense, with an award,
Yeah, I think previously, didn't we have kind of an operating rule that if you're on the board, you can't nominate your own projects, but if your own projects get nominated by somebody else, you can stay and vote on it? Or was it?
Yeah, we just need to
similar?
clarify it.
Because I know I have tried not to nominate any projects because I thought it was kind of accepted as a conflict of interest to nominate my own projects. But I know I was always encouraged to vote whether I had projects in the running or not. Usually I didn't, so.
I think that falls into, in the past, this was a little bit more of an established thing that we did every year, and that's kind of fallen by the wayside a bit. And so people don't really know if this is even happening anymore. I did a site visit to a house, and she had won an award in 1994, and she literally said, yeah, that was back when they had HP awards. And so I think it's also up to us to continue to spread the word to everyone we know. You know, we don't have to necessarily nominate, but we do have to work to get that word out there again, that this is a program that we're doing, and tell all of our architect friends, tell all of our engineering friends, tell all of our Forest Service friends, tell our teachers, tell everyone that this is still happening, contact the press. This is a group project that we need to continue to work on, so.
Well, anyway, I think in the next few months here, we're going to have to open this up to discussion. Preserve Historic Missoula? Is somebody from? No? Okay. I don't have anything. I talked to Paige, well, it's been a month ago now. She said she was going to try and be here, or someone would try and be here, but I guess not. You haven't heard anything. All right. Staff report.
Okay. So Unseen Missoula. It's been an incredible season. We still continued we sold out of every tour. We held the last tour this past Saturday. So we're going to go into a hiatus to avoid the snow, regroup, and begin planning for next spring. We've been hosting tour large groups, so private tours that people have been reaching out. So we did Leadership Montana, just 60 people, and then we did our first school group for Target Range, and it was 25 students and 5 teachers, and it was really, really, really fun. And it was our first one. We didn't really know how it was going to go, but the kids were so excited, and so that really showed.
What grade was that?
They were, I think, 4th, 5th. So they were a little older, and they were super excited to answer questions and offer what they knew, and thought everything was so cool, and it was really neat. So that showed that we want to continue to do school groups throughout the winter. That was kind of a guinea pig, but once we do another school group, I'll let you guys know if anyone wants to join, because it was really fun and really cool. When Alan came in and talked about the Department of Commerce grant for the Downtown Heritage Plan, we're still waiting to hear back from that, so we don't know yet. The Mercantile, I discussed everything that was going on last month. Nothing has changed as far as I have heard, so that is the same. One new thing is that the Radius Gallery was in charge of doing the photo exhibit for the archives, for the new muse, and they have donated all of those archives and those artifacts back to the city. which is something we didn't know was going to happen. So now we're the owners of those artifacts indefinitely, which is pretty cool because we thought there was a lot of murky discussion of who owned what, and we as the government now own those artifacts, which is pretty neat. The Lalonde Ranch, so there's going to be this new annexation with the airport, and that will include the Lalonde Ranch by the city. So the city is going to annex that property, but it'll still be owned by the county. And County Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer has reached out, and he's interested in adapting that site, which is one of our oldest homestead sites in the county, into a visitor information center and event space. And we're just very preliminarily looking into that. And then we have a meeting set up to discuss with the Moon Randolph folks who were integral to starting that, like Philip Makeling and Bob Oakes, Morgan Valiant, who came here earlier and presented to us as to how that came to be. Paul was at that meeting too, so if I missed anything, let me know. And then Preserve Historic Missoula has offered to explore and possibly conduct a listing if they choose to go down that route for National Register listing, just like they did for the fairgrounds. So it would be the same process as that. I mentioned this last month, and it's the historic overlay possibility of creating a new character neighborhood overlay for the city, which we would call NCH. And that was brought to our attention with the administration building, which we've talked about before. Currently, if one wanted to adaptively reuse that, the zoning and the land use would be extremely prohibitive. You'd have to do a land use change, a zoning change. It'd be very costly. It would take a lot of time. And this is a reoccurring issue as far as I can see in Missoula, and especially going into the future with our old schoolhouses and churches and our historic buildings that aren't zoned correctly for adaptive reuse. So what can we do? What we can do is create a new overlay, which for eligible or listed buildings would create incentive for adaptive reuse, to lighten the zoning restrictions so that you could use it for alternative uses, apply parking waivers, lighten fees, and increase permit processing time, which is what they do in bigger cities. Missoula's growing, we're getting there. We need to start doing this too, as far as I'm concerned. So this is something that we've been discussing, and I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on that as well, but we're not really there yet. But it's something that I've been thinking and discussing with city staff, is creating this overlay so we could put it on a building, say this is historic, this is eligible, this is listed. We can use it for this alternative use, which zoning doesn't normally allow. So that's something that we've been working for, and especially in light of the admin building, which brings us to tomorrow. We were invited by Ryan Montgomery, who's interested in purchasing the building and possibly adapting it to a boutique hotel. And he's invited the HPC to join him tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It's located at 215 South 6th Street West, and just offer our thoughts and join Paul, who's also going to be there as a potential contractor. You can say if I'm wrong. Yep, professional, maybe, perhaps. And just pick our brains. So if you guys want to join, that'd be great. Design excellence has been moving strongly. That's been a huge thing the past month in the city. The long-term planning and the consultants are right now in the process of establishing the actual language for design excellence. There was a meeting on the 18th of October, I believe, or it was the 14th. It was a public meeting about where we're at right now. And then here in the staff report, this is the current language for historic preservation as it relates to design excellence. Basically what it's saying is that the authority for review for historic resources rests with the HPO and HPC. So we would continue with our review for HPPs. We would just work with the current zoning officer, whoever takes this case, of if it's within the overlays, if it's within these places that exists, and then we would have the final say as to whether this still meets the HPP. If it doesn't, then we kind of, for lack of other word, trump what design excellence says. So we have that final say, if that makes sense. We're still writing that language right now, so it's still in the process. But we also want to involve the incentives that design excellence gives for adapting old buildings, and there are a lot of incentives there too. So it's involving those incentives, but also saying that this is a listed building and we need to adhere to the Secretary of Interior standards. So this is an evolving conversation, and this is where we're at right now of how to work out that language within the code. That makes sense.
So is the scope of that for existing buildings?
So
in
it'd
the
be if
design
an
excellence
existing building
zone?
has a major alteration
Okay.
or addition.
So it's not for, say, new buildings within a historic district. It's existing buildings that are being altered.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just be for historic resources.
Okay.
Yeah, listed. Moving on to H, do you have something, Paul?
You, just to be clear, it is specifically listed resources, not historic buildings specifically, but.
Just for historic resources, yeah. So our historic resource list is anything that's listed right now, so. Yeah. HPC membership.
Well, before we go, are we okay with the number of people going tomorrow?
Oh, yes, we are, because it's not public. Good. For membership, it's crazy that it's almost the first of the year, but that means that we have 4 memberships expiring, and everyone who is expiring is welcome to reapply. I listed them here and where you can reapply. And also, if you don't want to reapply, just let everyone know that applications are due by the 7th of November by 5. And also the chair and vice chair will expire on the 31st as well. So we'll have to revote, renominate in the next month, 2 months. I can't remember. Do we usually do that December or January? January, okay.
Probably be good to have the person known by December, so maybe we should have it in voting in December. Does that make sense?
Say that again?
Pardon?
What'd you say?
Well, I think we should vote on the chair, so at least you can then be able to work with the chair for the
Yeah.
meeting in January.
Yeah, that makes great
Does that make
sense.
sense?
Okay, so December, we'll do that.
And of course, we won't know by then who will be reappointed by the December meeting. That's why we waited till January.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's a correction we need to make in the bylaws in terms of, separating those 2 out.
That's a good point.
So maybe we better leave it as January when the new people are on board.
Okay.
we can always do the first part of the meeting after, first part of, I guess, new business or whatever, and then the chair can take over at that point. Does that make sense?
Okay, first part.
That's what we've done in the past.
Okay.
And then we may want to change other bylaws for future. I think it'll be good.
Sounds good. Other project review and considerations, submitted the semi-annual report on Halloween to SHPO. We had the discussion about the downtown new master plan with the consultants, which is Dover, Cole, and Associates. And then a community kickoff event was held that night on the 18th of October. For those who attended, does anyone have anything to say about that meeting or what they thought or how it went?
I wasn't able to go to the one at the Wilma. The other one went pretty well.
I thought the other one went
HPC.
pretty well. Yeah.
In fact, a lot more support from them than the other group that was doing, as far as historic preservation, of how it's very important to the community.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a site visit today for 418 East Spruce for possible inclusion on the National Register. And it was an incredible house with everything was just nothing had been altered. It was awesome. So hopefully that could be a new potential nomination. I would say to walk by it. So 418 East Spruce, it was very cool. It's private ownership and it's a residence, so it is up to the owner, but pretty neat. And I met with the consultant, Jeff McDonald, for the Rattlesnake Dam removal project yesterday. And it does contain some historic properties. Jeff is working for Trout Unlimited for doing that mitigation and interpretation for the removal of those buildings. And he's going to be presenting in January about that project. So it's a pretty interesting project that's happening.
Is he still the preservation officer in Virginia City?
He's not anymore. Yep. Which is pretty cool because I was his intern about 3-4 years ago for Virginia City when he was HBO. And I mentioned last time that there was a site visit for 819 Stoddard, which is the little Mason, the stone house, which has incredible masonry, which is owned by the Missoula Housing Authority, to talk about that as a potential nomination. And Carl Payne of the Housing Authority is in charge of that, and he was going to come today, but I just thought we had a lot last month, and we still have a lot this month, and so maybe moving that to December would be best. Again, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, we're members on that forum organizational level, and that's this month for the conference, and I get to go, so if anyone else gets to go, that's great. We have a discounted rate. Still working on that story map for our website. Still working on a brochure, which would have came in handy today, even doing the site visit for a possible listing about what the National Register means, what that means for Missoula. That's kind of what I'm taking away on the downtime. And then just letting you guys know that I will be out of the office for the National Trust Conference the week of the 12th of this month. So that's a staff report right now.
And just to let you know, I don't know if the Forest Service did or not, they will not be presenting at the December meeting.
They will not be.
Yeah, so we'll have to realize that they have to go through a much higher group of people before they get to that point of coming to the meeting, so.
Okay.
That was on T-150 from Zoom. Okay. Any questions or comments? Any member comments? Anything else?
I would like to say thank you, Kathy,
Yeah, can we talk about that?
very much. Well, thank you for a service, and thank you all for, I mean, the years of experience and the amount of work that went into producing that.
So the pub date is 2015, but it showed up last year? That's,
Kathy, could you identify what that is for the public, for the record? The book that we're referring to, please?
So it's a publication put out by Montana Technology and Development Center, and that's the research arm of the Forest Service. And it's a publication that's been 20 years in the making. For those of you that knew Bernie Weisgerber, he actually started it. And then I was lucky enough to be part of it, and Kathy Snodgrass was the main project manager, and she just retired. And it's just how you can fix a log cabin, and it covers everything from the foundation to the roof. And there's sources in there. It was a lot of fun to work on. I mean, it's just essentially everything that the preservation team does. So it was nice to get all that down, and it's actually very reflective of the preservation team's mission as well as MTDC's mission, and that's to pass on knowledge, especially with traditional tools and traditional skills. So it was, like I said, it was just a lot of fun, and there was a lot of people involved with this. So I'm just happy that and it is available online too. So
I've already used it a lot.
oh, good.
This is incredible. Thank you.
Okay, any announcements, upcoming events, any news? Maybe this could be Christmas pretty soon. And we do, it sounds like we have some items for December, so it'll be.
We do.
No other comments? The meeting's adjourned.